And welcome everybody, 505 interview series. How are you all doing? Glad to see you here back with another show tonight. Great guest tonight. If you hang out on IG Live, you see him on a lot of lives. He's a very talented man, into a lot of things. He writes horrotica novels. He's a published cookbook author. Owns a mobile cigar lounge trolley there in the Nashville area. Um, Man, it's just I love having guests like that. Daniel Dark is my guest, and if you know him over on IG, it is Gentleman Cigars. Fascinating guy, man. I love listening to him talk, his stories, as well as getting his take on a lot of newer cigars out there. We've got such creative and inventive people who are in our community, and he's one of those guys that really, I think, brightens the community in a positive way out there. And before we get started with the interview, reminder: go get your Select Draw. Yes, your Select Draw cigar cutter from selectdrawcigarcutters.com. I got it pinned into the chat right there, so go get it. You can use this as just basically like a punch in your cigar, just in the top. You don't even need a cutter. You can also go with the sides without even putting a hole in the cap. There's so many possibilities on this; it's endless. You can also use this with your favorite cigar cut, and as an enhancer to your cigar by increasing that airflow in. You're changing that chemical composition of how that tobacco burns, and you're producing a bomb cigar out there, man. Makes those flavors just pop. So make sure you get on over, use the promo code 505CR, save yourself some coin. Click that link right there. Go buy you one. You will not regret it. So, waiting there on the guest. He had just a little something to get taken care of, and he is ready. So we will bring on Mr. Daniel Dark of Gentleman Cigars. There you are, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm over my sicknesses and everything and ready to talk about whatever you're wanting to talk about tonight.
Oh, it's all about you, sir. Where you're going to showcase you, your talents, your cigar trolley that you have there in the Nashville area, and really just anything anything goes when you come on my show. There's no rules, rhyme, or structure to it. But we will. I'll hand it over to you here, sir, and you can introduce yourself and a little bit about you.
Well, a lot of people know me as Daniel Dark. That is a pen name that I have for my books. I have three books that were originally published under that name, and I've recently reacquired the rights to them, so they're not out on the market now. You can still find copies of them online and stuff, but they are not on the market right now. I also own Gentleman Cigars, which is a mobile cigar lounge. It's stationary right now out in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is about 12 minutes from Uncle Nearest, if you've ever heard of Uncle Nearest whiskey and stuff. And I have a penny farthing that I drive or that I ride. I have a 1901 Oldsmobile that I drive, and also a 1940 Cadillac that I drive.
Very cool. You have a fascination with this with kind of that late era the late era there, that late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yes, yes. My passion for it and everything, I don't know where it really came from, but as I was growing up, my father was a homicide detective. And one of the cases that we talked about every now and then at the table when I had him at home with me was a story of a known serial killer back in 1888, which was Jack the Ripper. And I had read a lot of books about Jack the Ripper, the fact that he was never caught and different things like that. And the people that said, well, this is a definitive person, blah, 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 they're trying to make their case for who Jack the Ripper was. And the book that I wrote was not about the 5 conical murders that people know about, but what led up to a man becoming Jack the Ripper.
That's cool. So you kind of created, since nothing's really known about him, you created a backstory for him that brings you up to what would have been current day of the time.
Right.
Very cool.
And,
Mr. Ben, welcome, sir.
That was one of those type of things that just fascinated me on what causes somebody to become somebody like that.
That's so cool. There's he's one of those very wrote about and talked about figures in history. Was he real? Was he not real? Who could he have been? We have an idea, but we don't know. And so, that mystery, I think, is what makes that legend of him, continue on for forever.
Well, we may eventually figure out who he was, something through all the different things that we have today. But the evidence that we have, a lot of it was lost back during a fire and flood back in those days in some of the places that had the documentation that we would need today to actually figure it out.
Very cool. So from that, when did your fascination with cigars come into play in your life?
Actually, I smoked my first cigar during the senior golf tournament at Bell South, where I was out there working one of the holes and everything. There was a guy selling cigars, and I'd never smoked a cigar. And I walked over there and saw what he had. He goes, "Here, try this one." And he gave me a full-bodied cigar with my first cigar. And it was about 100 degrees outside. I had not eaten all day, and this man gave me a full-bodied cigar. Whether it was for a joke or whatever, I don't know. But I just about turned green around the gill, as speak, from that. But I got into smoking cigars then, and a few years later, I opened up a little cigar shack. It was a mobile, it was a trailer, Hawaiian ice trailer that I had, that I took out. I stocked the inside of it because it's all insulated. It's all, got out the air conditioning in there and all that stuff. And I put humidity in there and made a cigar shack along with the ice, Hawaiian ice that I sold. So up there, Hawaiian ice, and there was a little known loophole law on alcohol. And I kept alcohol in the freezer up underneath the ice for certain people that knew about it. And it's one of those type of things where you can use alcohol as a flavoring as long as you don't call it a mixed drink. And I was, making these, Hawaiian ices with, rum and tequila and different things like that in certain people that came by and stuff.
Very cool. So if you saw him back in the day, he was selling you secret Hawaiian ices and cigars. So if you're a young child, you bought your first cigar from him. No. Just joking out there.
But
Ben worked in.
If you know,
Wow.
If you know Jano Ozinger, you've probably heard the name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was a local cigar manufacturer, and he taught me everything that I knew about cigars back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was a wonderful man. I have total respect for him and his family. Tim just came out with a cigar in conjunction with, or a group of cigars in conjunction with Crown Heads in Nashville, which is a guy that owns Crown Heads or runs Crown Heads, is also somebody that mentored under Jano. So,
That
you know,
yeah, that's awesome. The very rich history with the Ozinger family out there, and it was very nice to see that cigar that Tim put out. He released at PCA last year, and that was a nice treat. And it'd been a while since you really had anything come from the Ozinger family out there. So for getting Tim out there to really revitalize the brand and bring it back, I think it's a good thing for our community and the industry.
and a lot of people don't know that the artwork that he has on his cigars and stuff is actually artwork that you used to when you walked into the the factory or whatever, the warehouse, in the office area and everything. Jano was an artist, and those were actual paintings that he did in the front of his the artwork that used to hang in his shop.
Very cool. Very cool out there. So this new iteration of your mobile lounge out there, when did you start this one?
This one I started back before COVID hit. I was looking at starting a new cigar shop. From where I'd had my stroke and different things like that, I couldn't do a regular job anymore. So I decided to open up another cigar shop after many years of not having one. And looked at different places, found a building that would work for me. The guy had one price on the door, but when he talked to me, he wanted double the amount for it. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. You know, you had it advertised at this price, but this is the amount that you're wanting now. I'm not doing that. And that happened about 2 weeks before everything got shut down. So I decided to start looking for something else. And my great grandfather was one of the original guys that had Nashville Rail, which was his trolley cars down in Nashville, the old trolley cars that ran on the tracks and stuff down there. And I was like, they still make trolley buses and everything. Why don't I get a trolley bus and just convert it over to what I want? And I found one that a guy had down outside of Atlanta that we'd already negotiated a price and everything. Drove all the way down to Atlanta, got down there. The one that he sent me pictures of and everything was not the trolley that he had sitting there. The one that he had sitting there had been wrecked. It had, wood falling off the outside of it and everything else. And I was like, I'm not willing to pay that much money for it and in that terrible a condition. So I kept looking at the time, found another one, which was less than 50 miles from the house. And it was if you go back on my Instagram, all the way back to the front, you'll see pictures of how I got the trolley, what type of shape it was, and my building it out to what it is today. And I did all the work myself.
It is definitely beautiful, and it's unique, and it's something different that really stands out when I see the pictures of it. a really cool place to have an event. It really kind of takes you back to a different time and era out there, especially how you got the inside decor and just the ambiance. It's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well,
And
it's
Ben,
like
Ben,
I've got a shoe
Ben said
shine
you were warming
chair in
up
here.
tonight. So Ben
I've got
says,
a shoe shine chair in here. We can sharpen knives in here. We can do, whatever a man needs done at the time, except for barber. I thought about putting a barber's chair in here and have somebody come in and cut hair and stuff, but that took up too much room.
yeah, you have to do
And
it outside.
but I have 8 leather chairs in here that you can sit in, have a good cigar, BYOB, whatever you want to drink. I've got glassware and all that stuff set up where you can sit there and bring your beverage, got your glassware, different things like that. You can enjoy yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely has got that feel to it out there. So, you know, you're open. I take it that just not as an event lounge, but you're also open kind of daily as a regular cigar shop slash lounge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't drive it anymore. Um, there's different issues with my health that has kept me from being able to drive it and pack up and unpack it, do all that stuff that I have to do. Just that part of it wears me out. Like I've got a generator on the back that I would set down so you wouldn't have the noise or anything from the generator inside the trolley. So if you're sitting back in the back, you wouldn't hear that rumble of the generator that would interrupt your conversation.
Very nice. Very good on that. So are you warm and cuddly tonight? Because Ben said that you look warm and cuddly.
Warm and cuddly.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
If you know him, you know he is definitely such a warm and cuddly individual. All right. So when did you start writing your when you started in on your novels, the Jack the Ripper early life novels? How long ago did you start in on working on those?
When I started working on those after I did the cookbook, I did the cookbook to help get some of my memory back to keep my brain active after the stroke, which was about 12 years ago. And when I had the stroke and everything, when I was writing the cookbook, I was a chef. I had a restaurant when I had my stroke. I had to give up my restaurant, different things like that to the other part. Lost all the money that I had put into that. And but when I was writing it, I had to go into the kitchen and get a cup out to see how many ounces was in a cup because I could not. And different ingredients. I'd have to go back, find read back about what these ingredients were, even though before I knew all of them and everything. After that, I'd always wanted to write a novel, but I didn't think, being somebody that failed English 101 in college 3 times, finally passed with a C- on the 4th time, and was glad to get it because I was like, I have to have this or I can't get my degree. And I was like, nobody will ever want to read my dribble, but I'm going to write one anyway. It just so happened that dribble got passed to a friend of mine, which passed it on to a editor, and that editor said, "Can I submit this to a publisher that I know?" and the publisher wanted all the books that I was working on at the time, any title that I had, after they read that one book. And later on, that year, when it finally got published, I won the Poison Cup Award by the Crime Masters of America for the best new author in that genre.
That's really cool. Out there, you know, that right off the bat, you come out, you come swinging, you hit a home run, and so then you had to come up with a follow up to that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
was it received just as well as the first one?
Well, the follow up to that just so happened to be February of 2000.
Huh.
And it was received well, but nobody got to hear about it too much because I couldn't do the events, I couldn't do the book signings, I couldn't do any of that type of stuff like I had done before.
Yeah, yeah, and COVID really put a hamper on a lot of creativity, but it also brought out a lot of creativity in people who didn't think that they had it in them to do a lot of things on it. So there was some good with the bad on that, but I understand where you're coming from. So as for your oh, there it is. Look at the book, Knife's Tale.
It is Knife's Tale by Daniel Dark. The terrible picture of some ugly old man on the back of it. And if you want me to, I'll do a quick reading out of it.
If you would like to, sir, you are more than welcome to.
In each person's life, there is a fog, not the mist that covers a field in the morn, but a thick, blinding, dark grayness that chills your bones in dampness. I've lived most of my days in that fog, as fear encapsulated me each day. Oh, but at night, that night when the real fog comes out, I put my fear aside. I feel nothing in the dark, in the shadows of the park. The steeple so high makes everyone so shy, with shadows that cry. The ladies are out looking for company and a light, as fine gents hide in shame lest someone know their name. To be seen in these hours with such delicate flowers would never be right of men with such might. Each and all pass me without notice, no eye contact, no word, no understanding. The next morning they would dread at the horror they read. Will it lead to them? Did someone see the actions of their deeds when they had that carnal spree with that name they see?
Very nice. It bit of eeriness in that.
And this is the first words that I wrote for the book. It happened to be the last words that are in the book on the novel part. Hello, my love. Hello, my sweetheart. Can you see me in the dark? When you walk alone in the park, will you remember the smell of my touch? Will you know the touch of my breath? Will you see the pulse of my life when you feel the blade of my knife?
Well, chills going on that one. Oh my goodness. Are you going to work on putting out an audio book on these at some point?
I'm looking at doing that now. Now that I have all my rights back and somebody else isn't getting 100% of the money off of them.
That's a good one here. Oh, and you have a fan in the chat there. Good old Latasha there. You're awesome.
Well, thank you, Tosh.
Boss lady right there. That's so yeah. That's really that's. I think that's cool. I would totally get the audiobooks to listen to on my long work drives. That would that would really, that's kind of what I do now on my long drive. So I was like, man, I got a 3 hour drive. I put on an audiobook and listen to it while I'm driving.
Yep.
Kind of, wow, something's going on. All right.
You being raided already?
Already they realize they've been raiding the wrong houses around here looking for me. All right, so you've put out a cookbook, and your cookbook's entirely about ketchup recipes. Look at that. That's cool.
And it has about 200 recipes for ketchup, about 60 different flavors for ketchup. And most people think of ketchup as being tomato. Tomato is one of the ingredients of, or one of the types of ketchup. Because, like, I have fruit ketchup in here, which is like apple, banana, cherry, cranberry, grape, different things like that. And then I've got mushroom ketchup, ketchup from the sea, which is like an anchovy ketchup, lobster ketchup, oyster ketchup.
Wow.
Lobster ketchup, if you mix it with a butter sauce, make you a like instant lobster sauce. Tomato ketchup, I've got a series of those. I've got vegetable ketchup, which has like, cabbage ketchup, celery ketchup, habanero ketchup, which you might like, Danny. I know you like it hot.
I do. I do enjoy spice in everything I have.
And then I have like the walnut ketchup, which is when it was brought back over to the old country from the Far East. It was brought in. Well, it was more like your fish sauce at the time. If you've ever had fish sauce, real thin and different things like that, but a lot of flavor to it. And then they were like, we can make this out of other things. So they came up with the walnut ketchup, the mushroom ketchup, and then they went on to vegetables, fruits, different things like that. Tomato was one of the ketchup that they made it out of at a later date. And when I had my ketchup company, it was 1876 ketchup. Because in 1876 is when Heinz brought out their first bottle of ketchup. And if you look at their old bottle, it had CATSUP on it. It wasn't CATC,
Yeah.
Or it wasn't KETCHUP. It was the original, their original spelling of it. Well, they wanted to make themselves different than everybody else, so they changed the spelling of it.
Stand out. I mean, it's a
yeah.
It's
and they branded it to where they had the highest market of anybody else in the whole world. About 60% of all ketchup made by Heinz.
Impressive out there. And so, how well did that ketchup recipe book do?
It's probably sold as many, if not more, than the other two together.
Oh, wow.
People are always looking for different things when it comes to food. And being like, when we're talking about my books, my novels are basically horrotica. I didn't know that I was writing erotica or anything like that until it was pointed out to me. I was like, I'm writing a book, and this is the sequence of the book, and this is the storyline, and this goes along with the storyline. Well, it's, the best way to describe Knife's Tale after looking back at it is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 50 Shades of Grey.
All right, ladies. So here's your next book to purchase for your romance novel section.
But it is pretty graphic in different areas. One of a lady that read it and everything and gave me a rating and everything on Amazon. She put in there, goes, it's really good. It get you in there. It goes a little graphic for me in places, but so she only gave it a 4 instead of a 5. But just
well, who knew? Who knew you were a dirty man like that? Now I know why I like you.
I didn't know I was a dirty man like that, but whatever.
Sometimes you know what though, when you're in a zone and your imagination is kind of leading with what you're doing, you just kind of let it take it where it goes and see what happens. And so you just kind of you had an idea and your imagination ran with it as you were writing.
Yeah, and that's what writing's all about. Using your imagination to create a new world. And I could give you a storyline and you write it, and I could use the same storyline and write it, and neither one of those books will be the same.
Yes. And that's I think that's kind of the power of how, although people were similar, we're different when it comes to how our imaginations operate out there. And I like, I have a very vivid imagination, and I tend to go way out there when I'm, storytelling on it. I don't know how well that would be perceived by people. They would just look at it as something weird. What a weird guy.
Well, what's weird to me right now is I'm working on a book that is totally out of my realm. I've got one that I'm writing. It's called Hobie, the Bunny with the Paintbrush Paws, and it's a children's book.
Okay.
It's like, not teen, but not early grade school. It's that 8 to 12-year-old.
Those tween years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And it's about a little bunny and everything that instead of having claws, she's got long tufts of fur that come off her feet.
All right. See, your mind's constantly thinking and wandering somewhere, and that's where your mind took you. So I could, I dig that, man. I dig the creativity in people out there and what they can come up with and what they can think of. And I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Probably appreciate Dorothy and Toto Serial Killers pod.
Probably, but I'm a weirdo, so.
Well, people say, they go, how did you take that story to them being serial killers? Well, the first thing they did when they got to
I'm sorry, you broke up there for a second, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. In Oz, when Dorothy and Toto first got to Oz, what was the first thing that they did?
Boy, now you're making me go back and remember Wizard of Oz. It's been a long time since I read the book and even seen the movie. Let's see, they got there. What did they do when they first got there? Because the house landed, and then they walked outside and wondered where they were at, and that's when they saw the little people.
But the first thing that they did is they dropped a house
On the Wicked Witch.
on a socialite.
Yes.
Now, the Munchkins. Did you see any of the Munchkins? These group of Munchkins came out, saw what they had done and everything, and they were there. And did you see the Munchkins anywhere else, like in the movie or anything?
No, after they told her how to get to the castle with the great and wonderful Oz, they were gone for the rest of the movie or the book.
Well,
they never returned unless they're the flying monkeys.
Yeah, because they were witnesses. You kill a socialite, you can't have witnesses hanging around.
I get where you're going with that. Plus, yes, she killed a socialite and then stole her shoes.
And then, they go, to Oz. They acquire a hit on another socialite. And they go and kill this other socialite.
Yeah, they basically throw acid on her and boil her to death. Sick. Yes. She's got a sick mind in how she takes people out.
And then I've got another one that is the prequel to the Phantom of the Opera. What made him the Phantom of the Opera? What happened to him? And I go through a whole thing of that, and that has a lot to do with metaphysics and stuff like that. And I have one that's it's called Richard Mobius. Now, think about that name.
Okay.
It's a retelling of another story.
Okay. So the only Mobius, I have to dig into my comic book, into my nerd side, into the comic book side with Dr. Mobius.
Go back to the 1800s. Who wrote a book that was about hunting somebody?
About hunting somebody in the 1800s. Ooh.
Richard.
I don't know. About hunting somebody. Well, Frankenstein.
No, what's another name for Richard?
Oh, Dick.
Richard Mobius.
Okay. Dick Mobius. Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay.
Now, Richard Mobius is a private detective that Ahab and the Wharf Boys are always after because he keeps, messing with them, and they knew each other in high school and stuff.
All right.
Or in school. And he's the one that caused him to have the limp.
All right. That's really interesting concepts on coming up with retelling of classic stories and novels out there. I would have gotten more into them if the books they made us read in high school, were something like that. Instead, I get like Wuthering Heights, and I'm bored out of my mind. I'm like, I don't care about this. You could do a retelling of Wuthering Heights and make it interesting.
A Tale of Two Cities, make it.
I love The Tale of Two Cities. That was like my favorite book. That was the one book in high school that we had to that they made you read that I actually couldn't put down.
That's good. So you've got a little bit of the 1800s knowledge in you.
Yes, all those old, all those, Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. I always rented the black and white movies from the video store because they kind of stayed as close to the book as possible on those ones. So I didn't have to read the book. I could just take notes off the movie because it was easier than wanting me to rip my eyes out. Boredom. I'm like, who cares about this stuff? Why can't we read something good?
like the Lady in White.
Yeah, and they just never got that. Like I love like 1984. I loved 1984. That was another book that in high school that I really liked that I couldn't put down. And now we're starting to see aspects of that come into everyday life. Just took 40 years, but we're there. We're getting there on that. I like that. The movie was terrible. Don't watch the movie. You don't need to watch the movie. It's terrible. Jeremy Irons it's probably the worst movie he's ever been in.
But yeah, the people so then they go, I don't have any creativity. You get to talking to them, everybody has creativity. Mm-hmm. It's just they'll recognize it.
And I think a lot of people too, nobody ever bothered to call out the creativity a lot of people have. Just because their creativity was in different ways out there, they never really, and so they just kind of gave up on a lot of on anything creative because they didn't think they had it in them. But I think I agree with you. Everybody has some sort of creativity out there and can do something, can tell something, has a way, whether it's artistic by drawing or writing, telling a story in writing, or an imagination, or the film. Some of the great filmmakers out there with how they put together a movie that blows your mind. Everybody has it out there. It's just a matter of having somebody out there call it out to you and go, no, man, you are creative because you can do this and this and this.
And your creativity may be in business. It may be, something that's not traditional arts or anything like that, but may be in the way that you think about things. A lot of these guys that are doing like the gaming stuff and different things like that, where they're creating these games, some of them are very creative with what they do.
Yes, I agree. And more people, we need to showcase more creativity from people out there and acknowledge more of it, because there are smart people out there that I don't think feel that they are.
Have a good time, Ben.
I love Ben. Ben comes in every week and watches, and his out is always something with his blind wife. Either she falls into the pool, or she's making something to eat and is setting something on fire or something. It's always something weird with him with it on his out.
But it's just like with this trolley, I have different things in here that are reminiscence of my family. My grandfather working with the trolley system in Nashville. My dad being a Marine back in World War II. Just different things like that. And then bringing in touches of me in here too, that things that I like. I like the fact that you used to be able to go in and have your shoes shined by somebody. Sit up there in a chair and just let them go down on your shoe. I don't know whether you've ever had that experience or not.
I have. I have at a very fancy resort. They had a shoe shine, and I got my shoe shine, and it was a different and unique experience. But I think it also added a bit of confidence to you as well when you look down and you see your shoes looking brand new.
Yeah, it gives you that little bit of swagger to you too.
Yes, yes. Uh, you do. You have that swagger. That's a good way of putting it. You get that pep in your step as you're walking, and people notice. That's one of the few things that first thing people notice when you meet somebody new is they look at people's shoes. What Because you can kind of tell a lot about a person by the kind of shoes they wear and how they keep and the upkeep on their shoes. Not saying it's right all the time, but for a lot of the time, you're pretty close in your assessment of a person based upon their shoes.
Well, it's like mine look terrible right now, but I live out in the country, and you know the gravel dust and everything like that gets on them.
Yeah, now my work boots are all torn up and everything, but they're work boots. That's why I have them. I'll run those boots into the ground until I got to buy new ones. It's just the nature of the job. I try and keep my everyday shoes looking good. I want them to look good when I go out, not necessarily. They may not be the best or the fanciest, but they look good.
Yeah, and talking about your work boots, if you've got a good pair of Red Wing stuff and you've spent $200 on a pair of work boots, they're you don't have multiple pairs in there most of the time.
No, back in the day, Coca-Cola, used to spend money on uniforms. They lasted. You had good, it had Dickie and Carhartt pants, and they lasted, and they could put up to the top. You had tops that if you got covered in syrup and grease would wash out. They spent that time. Now, if I spend any amount of time on my knees, the knees get blown out easy on them, and
Yeah, it's just but for Coke to put out the quality that they need now, with the number of people they've got working for them and buying those uniforms, it would cost them millions and millions of dollars every year.
I'm sure, and I look at it as, is it really saving money going with these cheaper uniforms when you constantly have to keep replacing them for me because I'm blowing the knees out on them. The moment I get any syrup or grease on these shirts, they're done. Yeah, they're not. It's never coming out, so
Yeah.
it's gonna set in there. So, are you really saving money by going that route? I get you that in some positions you have a lot of turnover, but for like what I do, there's very little, if any, turnover in there. You go years and years and years before you bring somebody else on. Somebody new.
Yeah. And a lot of companies for a while there, they were going with uniform service, where say you turn in all your uniform at the end of the week, and they would make sure that you had one to wear that next Monday or whenever your next shift was. But you would turn in all your uniforms, they'd have them back there that next time that you're working.
Yeah, they at one point that was something they were talking about doing, but they never did, which was fine by me. I didn't really care either way, but I still have uniforms from when I started almost 15 years ago, and they look better and in better shape than what I have now. You know, it's just it's constantly going. I need new pants. I need new pants. I need new shirts. They instead of everybody having different uniforms, they went with one uniform because we were told we were all equal. There's nobody is better than anybody else, and nobody's job is more important than anybody else. So you get to you all look the same.
Yeah, but take your job out of the equation and see how long it takes for the company.
That's what I said. I was like, I could step in and do your job probably right off the bat with almost no training and probably do a very good job at it. You couldn't do my job. You'd be lucky if you lasted a week doing my job. You just wouldn't be able to handle it. And you know, the average lifespan of a technician is about 2.5 years. It's a very demanding job. It's a lot of hours. The if you have a family, you really have no family time. Your family time is usually on the one day off a week you have. That's when you get your family time because you're working early hours to late at night, and you just don't see it. If you want a family, then you better make sure that your spouse is understanding that you're just not going to be home a lot, and that's just how it is. And usually it's the young people who flake out after about 2.5 years. It's just too demanding of a job for them to continue because they don't have that family life and that family time.
Yeah. And I get that, but on the same instance, I was when I was young and doing all that type of work, I was on 24/7 call and had to be available. If something went down, I had a contract with South Central Bell at one time, my electrical stuff, and if something went down, somebody ran through a phone booth and had live wires out there. I had to go secure everything. Had to put in a new phone booth, do all that stuff. It may be 3 o'clock in the morning. Didn't matter. So,
Yeah, some of it may be this whole new generation of kids out there, and that they have different values and priorities than I think a lot of us have out there. The Gen Xers and the Zennials definitely have this different work ethic than the Millennials and the Gen Zs have.
yeah. Well, see, I'm not in any of those categories.
You're in the Boomer category.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, I'm in that Zennial.
Well, I appreciate the new stuff that they got because they respect their free time. And one thing, you've probably heard this a lot and everything. Thing the guy laying on his deathbed never said is, "I wish I'd been at the office."
No, always
he says, "I wish I'd stayed
with my family." Yeah,
family and friends and stuff like that, and that's a reality.
I get, and I do get it, and I respect that out of them, but but again, they also kind of want everything that has taken a lot of people years and years and years to achieve. They want it right off the bat. I want it. I should have that now. And I'm like, when I started, you had to earn that vacation time. And now it's to the point after 90 days, you got 2 weeks of vacation. I'm like, it took me 4 years to get 2 weeks of vacation built up. Man, I didn't get that off the bat. I wish I would have. It would have been great. But I spent 4 years planning vacations around having a couple days here, and then I got a week, 2 weeks. They've they they've gone away with a lot of that, and they no longer, it's no longer, you're no longer career driven. It's, well, whoever gives me the best deal at the moment is where my alliance lays.
That is a reality because most of the companies don't want a retirement.
Oh, I know.
They do not want you to retire from them. They want you, to work a certain amount of time so that they, can get the good years out of it, and then let you go to somebody else if you want to retire from it.
But then you get some of these highly technical jobs, and a lot of those employees are not. You can replace them with a body, but you can't replace that person. All that knowledge and skill, like they've said, they're considering after 15 years, your pay is tapped out. You're not going to get any. You're not going to make any more money after 15 years. I'm like, so you don't want careers? Well, how well is that going to work with trying to bring in technicians and drivers? You have a hard enough time getting CDL drivers to come in and work for you, and you're going to tell somebody after 15 years, that's it for you. You can stay on, but you're not going to make any more money. Bringing technicians in, that's great. After 15 years, you're not going to make any more money. Well, how are you going to replace them? A body. That's great, but a body can only do so much. That knowledge and skills that you're losing, that's irreplaceable.
Yep. And you've been with the company for how long?
Almost 15 years.
And to make any more money, you're going to have to move to somebody else that appreciates what you know.
Yeah, and my options are limited. I don't really have a whole lot of options available to me, other than going to, like, say, Pepsi, which they do pay significantly more starting wage out, but then to lose everything that I've spent the last 15 years working for, it just seems, it kind of sucks and counterintuitive to have to start over again, especially being 40 years old and having to start over again. That just doesn't sound appealing to me.
Well, I had to do that when NAFTA came. I was a maintenance manager, maintenance supervisor in big factories, industrial work stuff. And when NAFTA came through, I was working for a candy factory. 6 months after NAFTA was approved, that factory was closed because we were putting out, what Starlight Mints are.
Yes.
We were putting out 10 to 13,000 pounds of those a day. And after 6 months, we had a warehouse full of them. They weren't going anywhere. Salesmen couldn't sell them. And everything was coming from south of the border. And you can get the exact same packaging, except for instead of it saying, this company, it was saying made in Mexico.
And, I started my career working for Reynolds Tobacco when I was 18 years old. And I worked my way up into a position that when the FDA took over tobacco regulation, also regulated how many people in a company can do a certain job and which jobs can remain within a company. And they basically eliminated my job, and I lost my job. I wasn't transferred to someplace else to go and work. I was just basically told your job's eliminated and we don't have a space for you anywhere else. Bye.
Yep. Well, the one thing that helped me out was a year later, the government came back because I had been, I had that happen. And then I went to another company. About 4 months later, I finally found another job, and I found out why they paid a headhunter so much money to get me in the front door and pay me my asking price at that time. And you know, 2 months later, they sold out to another. After I got everything up and running in the whole factory, they sold out to another group of investors, and all upper management got axed that day. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? Well, the government came back and said, considering NAFTA or considering a government program, they didn't say NAFTA, said considering a government program put you out of work, we will pay for you to go back to college for 2 years to any state school that you want to go back to study, whatever you do. And I went back and got my culinary degree at that time and started managing restaurants and stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now the bad part behind that is I was making less than half of what I was making prior.
But you also went back and got something you had a passion for that you enjoyed doing. So that's kind of the trade-off on that was starting back from the bottom and making less money. But you're doing something you enjoyed.
Well, the thing about it is I was starting not at the bottom, but almost at the mid-range, in the restaurant. And I started out as a manager of a restaurant instead, because of my age and different things like that, what I brought to the table. I got hired as a manager. And, but that position still paid less than half what I made prior to that as a industrial maintenance engineer, basically.
I lost my job right when, right around the time the economy just collapsed in 2007. And I was out of work for a long time. I couldn't find a job. I was applying everywhere. I was just, I started hitting up my contacts in the tobacco industry to try and find something. And so one of the guys who I had contact with was one of the shop managers for one of the cigar factories in Nicaragua. And he offered me a job, but I'd have to move to Nicaragua. And my dad just totally was. I go, I don't know what to do, Dad. I don't know what to do. I can't find a job anywhere. My options right now are go to Nicaragua or join the military. So what? And I go, and I'm getting too old to do the military thing. But if I have to do it, I'll do it. And he goes, just wait. He goes, something will come through. Something will come through. I go, look, I'm going to give it till the end of the month. And then I'm going to give him my answer. So it's either I move to Nicaragua or that's it. So I was going, and so nothing broke loose. And then my dad goes, hey, I met a guy today getting my truck fixed. He's the service manager at Coca-Cola. He was getting his car worked on. I gave him your number. He's going to call you. They have an open position available. And I go, okay, I'll listen to what they have to say. And so called, and I did a phone interview and went in, did a formal interview, and they offered me the job. And so it worked out. He was right. Something will work itself out at some point, but it was a rough 8 months trying to find work.
Yeah. And, people that have never been there don't understand. And, those that have been there know that you can walk that ring of fire, come out the other side of it.
Yeah. I had to give up my apartment. I moved back in with my parents. And I just, I could not. I was like, I just don't have any money, man. Unemployment is not covering my expenses anymore. Going
Lord.
from going from a six figure going from a six-figure job to zero really puts a hamper on everything. You
Mhm.
know,
It's so like getting divorced, isn't it?
yes. Although when I got divorced, we had nothing to begin with, so it ended up it ended up working fine because right after we got divorced, I ended up getting that big promotion and I started making money. So that actually ended up working out in my favor on that one. It's like, yeah, we don't have anything. It's like, I don't know. She can take all her stuff and I'll take all my stuff. And she ended up leaving most of her stuff. She didn't want it.
Oh well.
So yeah, ended up working out in my favor. I ended up making more money. I was like, hey, see, getting divorced had its bright side because it kind of forced me into going for that promotion and wanting to better myself and going for a promotion for a job which I was not qualified for. And, but I felt that I had the drive to learn the job and I could be good at it.
Mhm.
And when you realized that, you did not have any um, negative about it either. There wasn't anybody sitting there that you had to sit there and talk it over.
No,
You had to talk it over with yourself.
I did. And I said, I'm going to go for it. And when I interviewed, I even said, I go, look, I'm aware I'm not qualified for this job. I don't have the years that a lot of these people have, but I have the drive and I have the passion and I'll learn. I go, I know a lot already, and I was just like, look, I be I'm really into cigars. I really understand tobacco, and every day I'm always learning something more about tobacco, and I want to learn more. And I go, I'll learn this job, and and it may be a struggle at first, but I'll get it, and I'll get it quick. And that just and it they ended up hiring me for that job, and then it just kept going up from there, and gave me the opportunity to travel to Nicaragua and Honduras and the Dominican, and get to go to all of these countries and to go to these factories and meet some of these amazing people in the industry that I think it ended up working out in my favor.
Let me ask you a question real quick. I
Sure.
know it's an interview on me, but I'm going to ask you a question instead.
All right.
Have you ever ridden a penny father?
Rented what now?
Penny father.
I don't think so.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
It's a bicycle.
Oh, a bicycle. Oh, yes. Yes. Last time I rode a bicycle was probably 30 years ago.
Was it a safety bike or an ordinary bike?
It was a ordinary bike.
So it had the big front wheel and the little back wheel?
No, it had the two. It had the two same size wheels.
That's a safety bike.
Okay, it's a safety bike. Okay, so the other one you're talking about is the big tall bike with the big wheel in the front and the small wheel in the back. I have never ridden one of those. I've
That's,
sat on one, but I've never
that's
rode.
what I ride.
I couldn't do it.
When it was really funny, when I got divorced and everything, I didn't have anybody tell me I couldn't buy one. So I hunted down somebody that still made them and bought one. And learned, didn't know how to ride it, didn't care, wanted one all my life. Back when I was a kid, the Joker used to ride one on the bicycle playing card.
Yes.
And, always wanted one. My parents finally, they opted out and got me a unicycle one time, and I learned how to ride a unicycle for quite a while there as a teenager. But I always wanted penny farthing, and so there, and I bought one. And what was funny is I would go out, one of my claim to fame is I was probably one of the most photographed people in Nashville that was not a celebrity, because they'd see me out dressed like I dress on a penny farthing, and they said, they go, "Can we get a picture with you?" I don't care. I did semi cause a wreck because I was riding down the sidewalk of this road downtown Nashville, and this guy was sitting there, and he was, he had passed me, and he was sitting there yelling out the window and throwing his hand up and all this stuff out the window and stuff, and he went up to the top of the hill, and he's supposed to stop, and apparently he didn't. And I said, the next road, I just cut right. Like, I can imagine the conversation he had with the police.
There's some guy that looked like he came out from 1870. That's cool. Yeah, that's. I don't think I could ride one. If they made it in a trike version, I could probably deal with that.
They do make a trike version of it.
I could probably ride that, but as for a regular one, no. I wouldn't even trust myself on a motorcycle.
I've got one of those too.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust myself on that. I could drive a trike though. It'd be fine. I wouldn't have to worry about falling over.
Oh, you never watched Lappin', did you?
I have seen it. Yes, that's me.
Now you got to remember you're 5 feet off the ground when you do it on those things.
Yeah, that's same. It looks like it would hurt hitting the ground. I can barely walk as it is, and I made a try and hold my balance on a 10-foot bicycle. Good luck.
And it has solid rubber tires, which have no tread on them. They're just rubber with a steel band in the center of them to hold them together, and no brakes. Your legs are literally your brakes and go on those bikes.
I'm good. I don't need one. They look cool, but I'm good. I don't need one.
One of the events that I was at, you know what Big Tire is, right?
Yes.
I was at a Big Tire event, and they had all these different things going on at the park and everything. And I pulled up on my bike and everything. All these girls were just around me, all these young college girls, and wanting to get up on the bike and sit on it and have their picture made with me and all this stuff. And there was like 5 college age boys sitting over to the side watching this. And when I was getting ready to leave, one of the guys said, come here. Can we hire you as a wingman for us?
Sure. I don't know if you can afford me, but sure.
That's that happened, that, and being down through there, and some guy doing a newscast on something, out on the street and stuff, stops me so he can get an quick interview with me, like 5-minute interview with me, just costs.
Look at that Nashville celebrity here.
Like I said, I'm not a celebrity though.
With your lounge, do you have a house blend that you sell, or
I don't as of yet.
Okay.
I'm looking at doing that, um, but I haven't pulled that trigger yet.
Okay.
Some about you got to be making money before you spend too much money.
Something like that. They say that, but do we ever follow that rule?
Well, I do because I everything that I have is paid. So I if I don't have the money for it, I don't feel like I need it at the time.
Fair enough. Fair enough question. Do you go to the trade shows at all? Or
I the last one that I went to was BCA up in um, Indiana last year.
yes. Yes, Brandon from Apostate said he enjoyed talking to you. He said to tell you hello.
But yeah, that was the last one that I've been to. I was looking at going to it this year, but they changed the location of it and the amount of time, and I was like, I'm not going up that far for that few of hours.
Yeah, moving it to somebody's backyard in Miami for 6 hours. Not a point. And then, well, instead of doing it, since we're gonna do the showcase at PCA. So I'm like, well, I was actually looking forward to it because I was budgeting to go to it this year because I wanted to go, and so you
I
know,
blocked out the time on my calendar and stuff for it. All of a sudden they changed everything. I was like, nope. Uh, I have the money to do it. I just not. It's not worth it to.
yeah, I don't think so either. I'll be part of it out there in Vegas when they do the showcase for it, but I much rather would have enjoyed the festival events itself. I think would have been a lot more fun, especially with having outside people, non-industry people there, instead of now doing a showcase for industry people and distributors and retailers. I'm just like, that just doesn't appeal to me. But I'll be a part of it. So
Well, you had a good time this last or this year.
I had a great time at TPE. Was a lot of fun. I had a great time last year at PCA. That was a lot of fun. This year at PCA, I'm going with a brand. So I'll be there kind of as a brand ambassador slash sales with a brand instead of me being there as a member of the media.
Maybe it'll save you a little bit of money too.
Oh yeah, because he told me got an Airbnb. My only expense really is the plane ticket to Vegas. So that kind of worked out in my favor. It's like, oh, cool. Well, I can afford the plane ticket. Otherwise, I can only stay a couple days because Vegas is stupid expensive.
Well, it was like last year um, when I figured it up, it was going to cost me over $3,000 just to be there. That's not counting eating or anything else. Be there, and I was like, I'd like to go, but $3,000 is a lot of money to lay down for an an event, no matter what the event.
It is, and then you're there because you're a retail shop. You're also spending money while you're there. You know, bringing in brands and so yeah, it is totally caught. For me being in Vegas for 4 days, that's $1,000 right there. That's just hotel, plane ticket, food, getting around Vegas, going to all the events around that are going around town. That you know It's costly to go to these events, and everybody always people who are not retailers or in the industry or in the media, they always talk about wanting to go, but they don't realize the cost involved in going to these types of events that's in it. I'm not. Nobody sponsors me to go. I've got to pay for everything.
Yeah.
So Alan was gracious enough to. I talked to him because I wanted to go, and I'm like, well, if you can just get me the badge, I'll pay for the badge and everything. And then he goes, oh, I want if you're gonna go, you're going, and you're gonna work for me. And I go, there, dude, that's fine. I will work your booth if that's what you want. That's cool with me, man. I will. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, it cuts out a lot of your time being able to go around and do a thing. But
It's already tough as it is because as I realized last year, you know, Saturday and Sunday are when all the retail shops are all there, and they eat up all the brand's time. So for me being able to get any FaceTime with a brand, it's really hard on Saturday and Sunday. And so Monday I had 3 hours before I had to be back at the airport, and so I marathoned all my interviews and everything in a 3 hour time window because it was the retailers let there's not many retailers there, so I don't fighting for FaceTime.
well, it was like last year. I had two different. I had a writing event and PCA at the same time, same weekend, and I was gonna have to go to one of them, leave that one early, and then go to the other one. And one of them I'd be driving to, so I'd be driving there, driving back to the house, picking up an airplane, and going to Vegas. And by the time because the hotel last year, it cost a certain amount to have a room,
Yeah,
and
yeah, if you stayed on
and
site. Yeah.
and then it was like it came with all this stuff, but then it had incidentals that it didn't even tell you what those were.
Yeah, the resort fee. I'm like, which I don't like. It's like, look, I'm not utilizing anything in your hotel other than the bed. That's it. You're a vessel for me to come in and literally be in the room for like 4 hours a day that I'm here. That's it. That's all you are as a vessel.
Or you know, do all that stuff, get in bed, get back out of bed, go to the event again.
That's about it. I basically get back to the hotel at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then up at 7 ish or so, get cleaned up, go get something to eat, and then off to the event. It's just yeah, but then you're paying a 25 to $40 a night resort fee for something you're not even utilizing.
Right.
Yeah.
Where they had it in Texas or something like that, the middle of the country, at a lesser expensive
Yeah.
destination, because Vegas it went from one of the cheapest places to go take a vacation to one of the most expensive places to take one in U.S.
Yeah. Next year's the last year in Vegas for right now. And so, and it's at a different earlier date, which I think you're in that, I think you're going to see brands and retailers pick which one they want. Do they want to go to TPE or do they want to go to PCA? And PCA, instead of it being 5 days, is only going to be 3 days next year. And it's in the middle of March, which I think kind of stinks. But then after that, they haven't said it's either going to be New Orleans or Tampa for 2025.
Yeah. I don't know who comes up with these decisions, but they really need to back up and punt.
It should, and they made it clear. They're like, look, we need to have an event center that is big enough to house everything that goes on and allows smoking. And there's only three cities that have that available to us: Las Vegas, New Orleans, and Tampa. That's it. And
Texas
probably
doesn't have that anymore.
they don't have a venue big enough that will allow smoking. So they need something the size of that convention of the convention center or the convention center at the Sands to be able to house that's big enough to house everything that goes on, and will let you smoke in it. So that's it. That's the three cities that are available. But I don't have a problem with any of that, but as they made it clear, New Orleans and Tampa, there's no hotels close to these event centers where they would be at. So if you forget something, you can't just run back up to your room and grab it and come back. You're gonna have to hop in a cab or an Uber and and go to wherever you're staying to get it. So this year, I'm pretty sure, they'll announce where 2025 will be. But next year it'll be in the middle of March, and it's 6 weeks after TPE. So for me, that limits me because it's either I got to pick one or the other one to go to. I not both, unless I go to TPE as a member of the media, and like same thing with Allen, I go with a brand to PCA. That'd be the only way I could be able to afford to do both. There's no way I could afford to do both 6 weeks apart.
Right, right. Well, I'm wondering what's going to happen to the PCA, over the next few years, anyway.
You're saying and there's already a lot of scuffle because one, you had the issue with Brian from Pravada in the PCA, and then all of a sudden Brian and the PCA are buddy best friends, and he has one of the biggest booths this year at PCA, and PCA is listing him as a showcase booth. And then you have a lot of brands out there that they're pissed by that decision. So it's like, well, how much money did he pay to get that? Also, he continuously breaks the rules the PCA puts into place. He was called out specifically by the PCA for his marketing, branding, and bans. But now they got blinders on to everything he does, and I don't want to, so he had to pay a lot of money to get them to turn the blind eye to all of his bullshit. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a comfortable event for him there because of the people he's alienated and pissed off in the industry.
Yeah, but you'll wind up having a decent time there, because you don't have to worry about that type of stuff.
Nope. I'll be there. I'll be there with a brand. I'll be doing my best trying to be a salesman. I will be doing my best to try and be a good brand ambassador for Allen, and really kind of showcase his brand, out there. There's some superstars right there.
Yep.
Bakersfield gentlemen. Yes. Superstars. Welcome.
How y'all doing tonight?
You guys in there. And for people watching, they will be guests on the show next month in May. So make sure you tune in for that. Yeah, so that's what I'm focused on. That's where my focus is on there. I'm not focused on anything else with that event other than trying to be a good brand ambassador, showcase the brand to the best of my ability out there, and to try and sell. and try and make him some money. That's kind of that's what my focus is on. I don't care about all the other shit going on over there. That they can have it. I mean, look, I'm going to be watching for a few people making their way over to where his booth's at, just to see if stuff goes down. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about that drama, but I don't want to have any part of it.
You like to watch, but you don't need to bust any heads anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't need to do that. I'm too old to do that shit. I just want to watch from a distance and go, good for them, good for them. Because I know it's not. I know there's not. It's not going to be a comfortable time there. You know, yeah. Bakersfield gentlemen. Yeah, I'm all about that. Look, I've built my brand around the boutique world, around the small batch world, and to have the ability to go and work for one of these companies at PCA and really, you know, as a consumer, I talking to a retail shop, the best thing I can do is give them my point of view as a consumer of the product, not as an employee. Look, I smoke these cigars, and this is what I like about it, and this is what I think that your customers would like about it out there, and and really just try and showcase that to retailers out there that this is what you're going to get, and I'm saying this as a consumer, not as a purveyor.
Yeah, and that does a whole lot more for the sale than this is what they say about it.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Look, I may be terrible at it. I don't know, but I'm gonna give it 110%, and I'm gonna do my best to really showcase what I think is important about the brand and the familyhood within the brand, and with the familyhood within the brand and its consumers, and 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 especially how Alan is out there and always on top of everything for his retail shops and what he does for his retail shops.
Great, great. So you learn something new about cigars every day. What have you learned today?
What have I learned today? I learned today that even though you may know the person and the time and quality that they put in to making sure that you get a good cigar, it's not always it's a handmade product, and there may always be flaws that you end up pulling out of a cigar. You know, that's what I learned today.
In a cigar, because it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good the cigar is, the quality of the tobacco used, who rolled it. It's a handmade product, and that was a stick that quality control probably should have caught and didn't.
If it drew well and everything like that, then at the initial, it wouldn't catch. It wouldn't catch it.
Wouldn't catch it, but there, having to put the stick out, less than halfway through because I just couldn't draw anymore. I got nothing out of it, and I tried to clear the plug, and then all of a sudden I started pulling out those stems and those thick veins, and I'm just like, yep. And so I ended up putting it out and cutting it open and pulling all that out, and I sent him a picture, and I go, look, I don't know how good the stick is, but this is what I smoked, and it was unsmokable, and here's what I was pulling out of it. And he was very apologetic, and I go, look, man, I don't want anything from you. I just wanted you to be aware. If I got one like this, there may be another one out there like it.
is more than maybe.
More than maybe, but I think, for a brand, you're probably better off somebody like me finding that issue than a regular consumer who's going to want to everything under the sun to be put back. Hey, I want more sticks, and I don't want anything from you. I just want you to be aware in case you get some complaints on that stick. Here you go. Here's my issue I had with it. I can't tell you if it was a good stick or not because I couldn't really smoke it.
It's not like the tank garage that I bought for the caddy and put it up and everything, used their tie downs and all that stuff. It lasted 3 days and then wound up being in the field over across the road from me. And totally destroyed.
Yeah. So there it is.
But
I can tell you
got me back today and said, we'll pay for, if you need new holes, if you need whatever, let us know what you need and everything. And we're also going to give you a $20, cut on something on top of it just for your troubles.
Yeah. At least at least they made right with you. Man, me, when I was working in quality control, I would have caught that. I'd have been like, you can't use these leaves. Look at how thick these veins are in this leaf. There ain't no way you can use this leaf in this. No way.
Was any of it center leaf or center vein, or was it all
that whole when I pulled that filler when I pulled out one of those filler pieces, that entire leaf was just thick veins all the way through, and I'm just like, yeah, there's no way that was ever gonna to draw correctly. I would have caught that inspecting that tobacco before it got down to the floor to get rolled. I'd have inspected. I would have been like, no, we can't use that in this. No way.
And the thing about it, the people on the floor, if it's already been passed to them to be rolled with, they're not inspecting.
They're gonna roll it because it got the thumbs up that it's good to go. Yeah, so somebody didn't do their job correctly there and catching that before it made its way down in that inspection process, because those veins are thick. There's just no way you couldn't have noticed that. Mr. Dark, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I had a blast with you.
I appreciate you inviting me, sir. It was different on interviews. Normally, I'm just talking about one or the other instead of a conglomeration. I'm talking to one crowd or another crowd, something like that. So
I like to make it fun and more hangout. And if we were at a lounge somewhere, I try and make it more like talking about something we would be talking about if we were at a lounge, instead of trying to make it the same questions you get every time you do an interview. Try and mix it up a bit.
So what is your go-to stick?
Whichever one I have in my hand at the moment. Before, beforehand probably would have been a Padron of some sort, but now with all the stuff that comes into me on a daily basis and a lot of test and demo blends that come in out there, I'm smoking so much now that it's whatever I'm smoking at the moment, whether it be a legit brand that's out there or whether it be a test blend that a brand's wanting to get some information before putting it out. It's whatever I'm smoking now. That's it.
Um, yeah, when I asked that question, it wasn't, of the expensive sticks or anything like that. It's just if you're going out just buying a stick for today, you know,
Probably would have gone with a Padron.
okay.
Any doesn't matter which one. Any of them.
Like an 80 or 150.
Yeah, I mean maybe even the 1000 series, Coraline 1000 series. Uh, Anything I know that if I put my hand in that Padron box, it doesn't matter what I pull out of it. I'm going to enjoy it. Coraline or anniversary doesn't matter.
Yeah, I haven't had one of the thousands yet. So I might have to look for one of those to try.
That was my very first cigar I had when the day I turned 18 was the Padron 2000 Natural.
And what type of price points on them?
The 1000 series, depending on the state that you're in, they run anywhere from $6 to $10.
Oh, so they're inexpensive for
Yeah,
Padron.
yeah, the 1000 series. Yeah, that's Padron's core line. It's just that's just their basic. But I really love them. I love the flavor in them. I think they're great. Then they're great everyday sticks. What'd you say?
Is that the brown band?
Yes, that's just the plain brown band.
Okay, I've had those in.
Yeah, yeah, that's just their core line.
Thought it was some special one that you were saying.
No, because their core line that they call them the 1000 series because it's all 2000, 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000. That's all. Just depending on it's all based upon the gauge. The 6000 is a 60 ring gauge. That's 6x60. Oh, you got a box of 2000 Natural Padron. Very good. I love that stick, man. That was the very first cigar I ever smoked the day I turned 18. And it's still one of my favorite sticks to smoke to this day.
And it's cheap enough, with what you're saying, is cheap enough to make a daily smoke out of it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said, depending on the state you're in, I've seen them run anywhere from $6 to $10.
Unless you're in New York or Cali, so
New York, Cali, Illinois, Colorado. Yeah, that's going to cost you a little bit more. But I could go to my local shop here and pick one up. I think they're like $6.50 or $7. Yeah, and for a box of 20, that's a hell of a price. That's a great price point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll smoke anything from Padron. That's always when I get asked Desert Island, one brand, one stick, I was like, Padron, and I don't care which Padron you give me. Doesn't matter. If that's the only brand I could smoke for the rest of my life on a desert island, I'm fine with whatever you want to give me. Yeah, yeah, not like the 50th anniversary. They're $50 a stick, and so they're fantastic and they taste delicious. And I could smoke one of those every day, but I couldn't afford to drop $50 a day on a stick.
Sir.
No. Let's see. Oh, you're up in Canada. Oh, poor you. Yeah, that's probably a $15 cigar in Canada. I got a bundle of 10 of the 40th anniversary Natural coming in. That's a good stick too. I love the. That's a good one. I love the 64s. The 64s are fantastic. The 32s. The 32s are amazing. I something about that those 32s are they're mind blowing. Again, another one that's pricey that I could smoke every day, but I'd go broke trying to smoke them every day.
When I was in one of the shops, I saw a box that they had out that was half half the box was natural, the other half was Maduros, and I don't know how much that whole box cost, but I would say it'd be up there in cost.
Now they do have the 1964s and the 1932 sampler boxes out there that are split that it basically has the Maduro, the natural and Maduro and all the sizes.
This was all one size. It was a big long box,
Oh, yeah, that probably.
almost like a humidor type box.
Oh, yeah, that probably costs more than I would be willing to spend. The only the only the only one I will drop any money on would be that if they ever release it is the Padron Fuente collab stick, which I hear they're $100 a stick. And I would buy one of each, so I would drop $200 on one of those sticks. Let's see. Where I order from online, I don't pay any cigar tax cents on the in. Oh, okay. So you're buying through the reservation. You're skirting the Canadian laws. You're a smidgen on that. Okay. John from OBO, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah, skirt that rules a little bit. I send stuff out. I got friends. I got a friend who lives way up north in Yellowknife, and I send him stuff all the time up there just because he can't get stuff relatively easy living way up there.
Where's that at?
Um, go north and think of the middle of nowhere in Canada, and that's where Yellowknife is at. it's it's uh it's up there in the middle of the country, kind of halfway between the U.S. border and the North Pole. All right, so you're in British Columbia. Very nice. I haven't been to Canada in years and years and years. So, but yeah, my buddy worked for an oil company and he got transferred up there to work for a year, and he ended up meeting a girl and getting married to her and staying in Canada.
One of the Eskimo girls where he slept with the guy's wife and then wound up marrying her.
Who knows? It could be, but yeah, no, he went up there, and then he's like, "I'm not coming back." And I'm like, "What? Are they keeping you up there permanently?" He's like, "No, I met a girl. I got married, and we're gonna live up here in the middle of nowhere."
One of the big problems with that one part of I met a girl.
Anytime you start a sentence off with "I met a girl," it's already you don't need to explain any further. All right, yeah, I got it. I'm staying. Why? As I met a girl. Okay, that's all I need to know. That fine. Oh my goodness, the legend himself has showed up. Oh my goodness, there he is, AJ Buford from Big Country Cigars, your neighbor there in Nashville.
Yep. What are you doing, AJ?
I call him legend and he hates it. And since he made it clear to me it annoys him, I ask everybody to call him legend. Like, you shouldn't have told me it bugged you, so now I'm going to tell everybody to refer to you as legend.
Watching basketball.
Watching basketball.
Play that game? Is that still played in the United States?
Yes, yeah. Playoffs are just started. If you watch the NBA, whatever. It's all right, legend.
You got
Yeah,
Dan and a Dan. Which one you talking to?
think me, that legend. It's all right, legend. If you
Legend.
have not had Big Country cigars, go buy some. They're phenomenal. He is a purveyor of amazing tobaccos.
Yeah, I was supposed to get some from him and everything, but I never saw him, so I had to go buy some myself.
What's up with that? You can't go down the street to go meet Mr. Dark here, or what? There you go. He'll come see you at the trolley this week.
Just don't make it Thursday. I will not be here Thursday.
There you go. But yes, my show is a calendar for the people of the industry. I At least I can do something here. Make Schedule your meetings. He was down. He was down in Georgia at an event. Very
See,
good.
down in Augusta.
No, I don't think he was. He was at some event in Union City. I don't know Georgia that well, so couldn't tell you where that's at.
Didn't know whether he was at the Masters or not.
Atlanta. There you go. He was in A Town. I used to back in the day when Coke used to send us to Atlanta all the time. I loved going to Atlanta.
I have this little plant down there, so
Last week, yeah, the Masters. My brother-in-law was at the Masters. We got a very blurry photo of him on the TV with him sitting in his chair with Tiger Woods in front of him.
yeah, I'm sure that they weren't really, showcasing your brother. They're probably showcasing Tiger instead.
They were. My sister kept rewinding the live feed to try and get a picture of him, and all she could get was just kind of a blurry picture of him behind Tiger Woods. Well, I was like, well, that's cool. I mean, he got to be sitting right there with the legend. Yeah, they used to send us down there for training all the time. Everything new that would come out, we'd go down, all the time. But then they started doing 2017, 2018, they started doing all online training stuff on all this stuff. So they never even got to like handle the equipment. It was just learn from a computer, and hands-on learning came when they actually got put in the field instead of hands-on learning before they came out.
Sounds a little bit counterproductive, but okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're saving money instead of bringing people. Yeah, but it's like you're really bringing one person from most of the sales centers down to Atlanta to get hands-on training. Instead, you make me learn online, and then I don't touch it until it comes out into the field. Yeah, stupid. It's like, all right, well, let me see here. Since I'm a hands-on learner, I got to be touching it while I'm training and learning. So me watching a video or a live feed on the computer does nothing for me. But I think that's how a lot of us who have those technical brains are. It's like we got to be touching it while we're learning about it. Otherwise, it's pointless.
That I met a girl.
Then I met a girl. I met a girl. Yeah, that's it. I met a few women in Atlanta. I also fanboyed out over Hank Aaron and embarrassed myself. So, that works too. Mine would be I met Hank Aaron, and then it's like, oh, yeah. And then I fanboyed and embarrassed myself. Mr. Dark, thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate you being on, sharing your story, sharing and just being an overall awesome dude. What would you like to close the show out to promote?
Um, I'm gonna close this out like I close out a lot of my interviews and stuff. Promotion is not about me. Promotion is about you as a person. You need to realize who you are, what you do, and what you can do better than anybody else to make your life better. And with that, I'll say good night.
Very nice. If you're in the Nashville area, make sure you head to Gentleman's Cigars Trolley out there in Shelbyville. Um, go give him your business. Go buy some sticks from him. He's an awesome dude and fascinating, and you'll probably find yourself sitting there for hours talking with this gentleman because I enjoy listening to him talk, and hanging out with him on lives is a fun and amazing time out there. Next week, I got my buddy Mr. Howard Gums from Howard G Cigars, the first man in the industry who believed in me and what I was doing, and I have a lot of love and respect for Howard, and so I'm excited. I've been trying for 2 years to get him on my show, and I was finally able to break him down to get him on. So Howard G next week will be my guest. I don't know about raw cigar reviews tomorrow night. We may have a guest, we may not. It all depends because the sticks got shipped out late. So it just may be Ryan and I, or it may be Ryan and a few guests on. So tune into my IG live feed tomorrow night and find out for yourself because I don't know. But I can tell you the following week will be a fantastic show. That one may have a huge guest on. So that is it. Make sure you go get your Select Draw. SelectDrawCigarCutters.com. Promo code 505CR. Save you some coin at checkout. Mr. Dark, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. And can't wait. We will do this again soon.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everybody. Take care. Be safe out there. And don't do anything either one of us would do because, I met a girl.